In this video, I'm going to go from what is an agentic workflow, what it means for our AutoCAD, to setting up our first simple automation. You will clearly see how to set it up and how to use the free resources. Understand why we do not use ChatGPT or anything to put out scripts and the better way of doing it. You are not just going to see a simple automation, you're also going to see where it breaks and how we end up fixing it. So we are going to learn 4 things today. 1. What is an agentic workflow and what it means for drafting and engineering. 2. Why are we not using ChatGPT and what are we going to do instead? 3. Set up from download to install and then setting up our agentic workflow. 4. Our first automation along with a simple prompting technique to help you get started. The best way to learn is by doing. So follow along those exact steps as I'm doing it. So by the end of this video, you will have your own agentic workflow up and running. Let's get started. What is an agentic workflow? An agentic workflow is when an AI system follows a process you designed, uses tools, and decides what step to take next within that workflow to achieve a specific result. The important thing here is that you define the workflow. So the system operates within the structure you set. It's dynamic and flexible, but not out of control. Now let's take a simple example from drafting. Imagine you receive a new architectural drawing. As a drafter or engineer, you usually follow a process like this. First, you download the architectural drawings, then you save them in the project folder. You open them in AutoCAD, clean the unnecessary layers, classify walls and structure elements, apply your template, so on and so forth. By the end of that process, you have converted the architectural drawing into something usable for structural drafting. Now, replace yourself with an AI agent. Instead of doing each step manually, the agent runs the workflow. It reads the drawing, organizes the file, opens it, cleans layers, classifies walls, applies the template, so on and so forth. In other words, it's following the exact same process you normally would. Now you might be thinking, where does the agentic thing come here? The workflow isn't a rigid script. The system can look at the situation and decide what step to run next. For example, if the layers are already clean, it skips that step. If the walls are not classified, it runs the classification. If the template hasn't been used, it then uses it. So instead of blindly executing instructions, the system moves through the workflow intelligently. Here's a simple way to think about it. You design the process, the AI simply runs it. One of the most common questions is, why not just use ChatGPT? Usually when people start using AI, they do one thing. They use ChatGPT to generate scripts. ChatGPT gives you a script. You try it, something breaks, so you go back to ChatGPT, explain the error, get another script, try again, and repeat. It becomes this back and forth loop. Sometimes you eventually get something working. Sometimes you stop halfway because it becomes frustrating and time consuming. But that's the typical process. I actually want to shift your mindset a bit. The first thing to understand is this. ChatGPT is not the same as an agentic workflow. With ChatGPT, you're still doing the work. It helps you write scripts or gives you advice, but you're still running the process. With an agentic workflow, the idea is different. The system runs the process and your role becomes minimal. So the mindset shift is this. Instead of using AI like an advanced version of Google, you start using AI to run the workflow itself. Your role changes from doing the work to orchestrating the workflow. Now, let's go back to the drafting example. Imagine you receive a new architectural drawing. Now, imagine you just hired a very capable junior. Let's call him Peter. Peter is skilled. You interviewed him, You know he can do the job. So on his first day, you say, "Hey Peter, here are the architecturals. Start drafting." Peter opens the drawing and then pauses. He starts asking questions. Which template do I use? What layers should I clean? How do I classify the walls? Where should I save the files? The good news is Peter will actually figure it out. But the problem is time. You spend time explaining things. Peter spends time figuring things out. And the same thing happens when people try to automate workflows without structure. The system might be capable, but it doesn't know how your process works. Now, imagine a different situation. Before Peter starts, you give him a clear set of standards. You show him, "Hey Peter, this is our folder structure. This is our template. These are our layer conventions. This is how we classify walls." Now, Peter doesn't need to ask questions every 5 minutes. He simply follows the process. The work becomes faster, smoother, and far more consistent. AI agents are powerful, but without standards, they behave like a new junior on their first day. This is exactly why the SET framework exists. SET stands for Standards, Engine, and Tools. Standards define how the work should be done. The engine is the AI agent that runs the workflow. In our case today, it's going to be Google Antigravity. And the tools are the scripts that perform the tasks. Once these three pieces are in place, the workflow can run reliably and consistently. Don't worry, this isn't some huge complex system. In practice, the SET framework is just a simple folder structure. One folder contains your standards, written in plain text, so the agent understands how work should be done. Another folder contains your tools, the scripts that actually perform the work. The agent simply reads the standards and calls the tools to execute the task. Think of it like a recipe and a kitchen. The recipe tells you what to do, and the kitchen tools let you actually cook. That's it. Enough with the theory. Let's get our hands dirty. For this setup, we are going to use Google Antigravity. There are definitely other tools out there, one prominent example being Claude Code. Now, in many cases, Claude Code is more powerful for these type of workflows. But the reason why I'm using Google Antigravity is simple. First, it's free to get started, which makes it very low barrier if you just want to understand how agentic workflows work. Second, not many people in our community knows about Claude Code yet. So instead of starting something unfamiliar and paid, we will use something that is accessible and easy to try right away. And for understanding the workflow itself, Google Antigravity is more than capable. The goal here isn't the tool, it's understanding the workflow. Once you understand that, you can run it anywhere. To get started, go to antigravity.google, download for Windows, and depending on your system, you download for mine is x64, so I'm going to go with x64. Download. Okay, all right. I think I'll press it twice. Done. Open it. Accept the agreement. Next. 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 You can keep the default options. Install. Launch. That's it. Welcome to Antigravity. Next. Start fresh. Dark modern. So these are a couple of options that you have. Agent-driven development, meaning you are sort of giving agent a free hand to do things in your computer. It wouldn't ask for your permissions per se, and it would just go on to do about that work. I think it's a little bit too early for that. And the other one is, say, review driven development. And now that's the mode which we are going to use as well, where the agent actually do work, but before it executes that work, is going to ask for your review and permission whether it's okay or not. Now we are at that stage here, so let's do that. Next. Extensions, you can keep all of that because you would need to extend the capabilities in the future. Next. Sign in with Google. I'm going to go with my, yeah. Then you go back, accept, yes. That's it. Now this is what you would see once it's installed and signed up and everything. You can press dismiss for now. I'll explain that. After this is done, go to the link, and this is my Google Drive. You can go here and download this folder. You should download the folder because we need all of that. That's it. Download it. Open file. You can drag it and drop it to your desktop if you like. And close it. Go back to Antigravity. Now you're going to start your agentic workflow setup. First, go to Open Folder. You can use this, or you can go to File, Open Folder. You can use any, but let's go with Open Folder here. I'm going to go to my desktop, Antigravity, select folder. Yes, I trust the other because I did it. So give it a second, authentication. So that's it. So you right now have all the necessary setup to get started. Now this interface here will be a little bit overwhelming, but you don't have to be. Okay, so let's just go through it one by one. Also, one more thing is, most of the time you're here, by the way, with the agent. You wouldn't be bothered with these two windows. So the first part is, like I said before, set framework is just like a folder structure. So you have got standards, you have got tools to execute these standards. Then this is the Gemini.md file, like I said. So whenever you click on something here, it would pop up in the middle region showing what that file basically is. This is sort of like the brain of the system. Okay, so this rather than just saying, hey, do something for me, with the agent here, you're going to give it specific instructions. You're just saying what it is, what's the purpose of its existence in this computer. Then you can go to standards as well. So you can look at a couple of standards here. This is check connection. This is to check the connection with your AutoCAD if everything is okay or not. Then you have got a couple of tools. I've put like a couple of my own tools. It's free in there, so you can use it if you'd like. You can work on top of it if you'd like. Now, this is the agent panel. Now you have two options here, planning and fast. Planning is where it would give you the to-do list, implementation plan, everything, and asking you whether are we on the right track, and then you go and give it permission to do something. Whereas fast is something like, okay, it would just skip that step and just get directly into the development. So we're going to keep it on planning. Now let's just connect to our AutoCAD. So this is our AutoCAD. Now let's just try this. Okay, are you connected to my AutoCAD. So it just went to check underscore AutoCAD connection. That's like a standard on how to actually check the connection. So it is doing that, and it analyzed, and it realized now it needs like a tool. Analyzing, initially. That's it. So it found the tool. Now it's going to run it. Hello from Google Antigravity. That's it. And then you say yes. The way how I have set it up is we need to give that visual confirmation to the agent, because that's like the after it does something, you need to visually confirm saying, okay, the work was done or not. If it's not, you can go ahead and say it's not done. Previously, I used to have this issue where, it does something and it says, well, the work is done, but the work is not done, right? Like there needs to be that loop, or there's some big error. So instead of that, it's saying, oh, I have done and completed the work. It's just confirming it with me asking, okay, whether the work was done or not. And right now, I'd like to congratulate you because your agentic setup is successful. Now, let's get into like our first real automation. As I said in the start of this video about like a simple prompting technique on what you can use, I used like a framework called Draw. I sort of created for my ease of prompting. D stands for defining the task. R stands for the rules uh, that you have to follow within the task. A stands for assets, for example, the layers or something that's related to it. You're going to see an example soon. W would be what success looks like. So, what's the end goal that you want to see? That's all. It's pretty simple. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. If you have something better, use it. Okay. D R A W. I'm going to define the task. Create typical concrete column sections, or create sections based on my input. Specs of a concrete column. It would have information like concrete column width and length along with vertical rear and ties. A as an asset, so it would have concrete in layer S conc detail and rear in S in layer S rear. Now what success looks like, example output would be concrete column 1000 by 250 in size, 4 and 20 bars on each side, and ties around it, and 12 200. The cover would be 50 and 20 should be shown as donuts. Internal radius 0 and outer radius 20. Find a typical section on how it looks like. Okay, copy paste. Oh, it didn't work. Remove DRAW. Let me add media. Column. So I have attached like a column typical detail, which is like 1000 by 250. In the image, let's see. So it's analyzing. Okay, it analyzed few of my previous scripts. View existing drawing tools for patterns and drafting implementation plan. So because I put it in planning mode, like I told you before, it has created me the task list, and it's right now preparing an implementation plan. So the difference here being the task would have like to-do list, like okay, you do 1 2 3, and the implementation plan is how we do those to-do tasks. Okay, so it's going to create draw column underscore section dot py. It's going to create those concrete details, concrete detail in the red layer. Okay, closed rectangular polyline. Let's see. I'm not going to change anything really. Like I said, the verification, manual verification. So I'm going to proceed with implementation plan. You'll see the blue one. Couldn't see it because it covered. But I want to put two things in one screen. So you would otherwise see like an proceed with plan. So let it think. It's thinking on how to proceed. So it's right now creating the standard. That's the standard markdown file. Now it's creating the script to execute it. Okay, now I'm going to press run. That's it. It looks like it's done. Let's see. Yeah, well, clearly the hook seems to be misplaced. Okay, it's still coming up with something. That looks terrible now. Not that one. I need that, and I want like a fillet. I don't know, like a 20 fillet. Okay, undo. Okay, let's let it finish generating it first. Going to accept all because now it has to work on top of that. I want a fillet at 15 radius for the ties in all corners. I'm going to delete it because it has to execute it again. Going to accept all. Run. Let's see. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. So clearly the fillets are wrong. So the fillets needs to be outward. Let's go back. Wrong. The fillet must be outward and not inward. Also, the hook must be placed inward. Send. I'm going to delete this here. Okay. Accept all. Run. Okay, done. Let's see. Ah, that's it. Nice. Now we need one more hook line on the other side of the fillet. One more thing about the hook is there needs to be one more in the same fillet, side, same angle, and same line. Side, sent. Delete it, and let's see. Accept all, run. That's it. Fantastic. Now let's look at the layers. Okay, sconc detail. S Rio, it's in the right. Okay, it's Rio again. So it's all in the right layers. Now let's do a test. Create 10 different variations of the same column. Of the columns with different widths and lengths along with different Rios like N16 and N24. That's it. Let's see. Run 10 varied column sections. Okay, run. Yeah. Oh, that's because double A is not a valid statement. So you need like a PowerShell script. Yeah. That won't work there. Well, anyway, it found the error. Now it's going to create like a PowerShell script. Run. Just gonna close it for now. Test columns.ps1. PS1 is PowerShell script, by the way. Run. Okay, so 10. That took like less than 5 seconds or something. That's it, 10 columns. Okay, we can see that. Oh, this is great. Now, different Rios. You know what? Let me just make it bigger. Okay. S-Rio, S-Rio, concrete, 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 Rio. Now let me show you what it did, okay? Now we go to standards, concrete, column. Okay, so this is the markdown format. Like I said, it's for the machine and everything. So it's got title, trigger, output, goal. It has just written out on how to do it. So next time when it wants to do it, it can just call this markdown. Now let's find the tool. Now you can go here and see where the PowerShell is. So as you can see, draw column dot section underscore dot py, that's the tool. And now if we could find that here in our tools folder where it is. Now, one very important thing to remember, just because your automation works once doesn't mean the work is done. As you just saw, I ran a very simple test scenario. I took a concrete column section and created 10 different variations of it. Different column lengths, different reinforcement, different dimensions, and different inputs. And in this case, it actually worked in all those scenarios. But this was a very, very simple scenario. In real workflows, you will eventually find situations where the system actually breaks. And that's the actual goal of testing. You're not trying to prove that the automation works, you're trying to find where it fails. Once you find those gaps, you go back, fix the workflow, refine the standards, and make the system stronger. As promised, I've put everything in a Google Drive folder. You have everything to set this up. The prompt, the setup files, the folder structure, the link is in the description. I'm also constantly improving this workflow as I'm learning new things. So if you'd like to get updates whenever I'm improving my system, you can leave your email in the link below. Whenever there's an update, I'll send it directly to your inbox. No spam, just sharing what I'm learning. If you run into any issues while setting this up, don't worry. There's a free calendar link in the description. You can book a time and we can go through your setup together. And if you found this useful, consider subscribing to this channel because I've got more drafting automation and agentic workflows on the way.